Neighborhood meeting for the, called Pine and Laurel. And Steve Hetherington is the applicant. And their engineer and architects are here today to share what their plans are for this neighborhood meeting. And it will be rather brief, but they'll be glad to answer questions. And I'll open it up here in a few minutes. But first I was going to put the plans up that are available. This is the aerial of the property. Looking from the Main Street perspective, looking over it, this would be, north would be to your right on the screen. This is the site plan with the same perspective, with Pine being on the left of the screen, the site showing the parking, and then the buildings, and then the Laurel Lane being on the right of your screen. This is a landscape plan showing the same. And then this is one of the architectural views of the building. The rear elevation on the top, front elevation which would face the parking area, and an end elevation, and then perspective drawings here as well on the bottom of the screen. The request is for conditional zoning. It's currently zoned central business, and the applicant plans to keep it central business but conditional. And through that process, they are asking, the major thing that's being asked for is to increase the density. Currently it's just over 3/10 of an acre, or just under 3/10 of an acre. So would normally allow about a unit and a half to 2 units, and there's 8 units proposed for this project. So that pushes it to closer to 20 units per acre with the density. So that's one thing that they'll be asking for, a condition to allow that dense a project, that many units. There are 6 units that are 1 bedroom and 2 units in the middle that are 2 bedroom, correct?
Correct.
So 6 1-bedroom units and 2 1-bedroom units, 2 2-bedroom units, excuse me. So 6 1, 2, and 2. So I'll let Mike speak to it, and I'll keep the plans up for those on the Zoom that can have opportunity to look at that, and then I'll start unmuting as people have some questions. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, good. Kevin, if you may, could flip back over to the site plan, may be helpful.
Sure. Okay.
So everyone, this site is peculiar in the sense that it's very long and it's very narrow. And we've been working on this for a while, trying to figure out what the best use of this would be. The project that we did previous to this along Pine Street in the corner of Pine and Main, we noticed that there was a strong need for housing close to the downtown area. So we looked at this, and the owner, Steve Hetherington, who's on and available for questions this afternoon, we decided to do townhomes. And so we partnered up again. We're working with Bill Dixon. So we have the same team that we did the last project on. And this is the concept that we have come up with, is a row of townhomes. The project, like most projects in the town of Blowing Rock, is being dictated by the available parking. And so we've worked hard to provide as much parking, but that is what is governing how many units we can get and how many bedrooms we can get. We have, since both Pine Street and Laurel are 1 lane, we have designed this as a 1-lane entrance and exit. We thought that would be the most efficient to get people in and get them out. We'll serve both water and sewer from Pine Street. There's no utilities in Laurel Lane, so we'll have to bring water and sewer in there. There is not a fire hydrant shown. There's one there was one installed at the corner of Pine and Main Street. But my guess is the fire department's still reviewing it, and I just talked to Kent. We'll probably need to bring a fire hydrant down Pine and put it right along the entrance there somewhere so that we'll have fire protection. Storm drainage will be handled. We're required to do underground detention. That'll be under our parking lot. We'll bring everything to it. We will have some roof that comes to the back. We'll either bring that around. If we can't get it elevation-wise, we'll be governed by what the storm drainage is out in the street that we're tying to. We'll do little systems at either end. We do have a very nice buffer on the Laurel side because the town owns from the back of the sidewalk a little more than 20 feet and has existing landscaping in there. And so we'll be adding to that. We've talked to Kevin and he said that if we wanted to add any landscaping to that, we're welcome. We'll be required to landscape the area within our property, but he offered that we could, if we wanted to gussy that up a little bit, we could. There's a couple, I think one dead white pine in here that we plan to take out. And while we're doing construction, if there's any trees on the town that need to come out, we'll be glad to take those down during the construction. The trash, we've made a central location for the trash, and it will be fenced. It's all down here in the southeast corner of the property, and that way the trash service can come down Pine and grab all the recycling and trash and then continue on their route. All the units are going to be individual townhomes, so they all have their individual meters. And you can see if you want to look at the final product, what it's going to look like. Bill and Lee are here, and they've done a good job of doing both elevations and an isometric view, a 3D view of the building, that you can get a feel for how it's going to look there. I'm available for any questions. That's all I know really to bring up. But if you have any questions about the site and how it's going to work, I'll be glad to answer those. And as mentioned before, the architects are here and the developer, Steve Hetherington, is here, can answer any of your questions.
What are the size of the storm drainage?
The storm drainage, we
What are
haven't.
the size of those pipes?
Don't know yet. We'll have to do the calculations for that, and that'll be during the design drawing stage. My guess would be that they'd probably be 24 or 36, or we may use those chamber systems, those arched systems that you backfill with gravel. Those work well, and they can do well when you don't have a lot of depth. What's going to control our detention system is the depth of the storm drainage out in Pine Street. And so we can't be any lower than that, or we won't be able to drain. So that'll have a say in what the diameter is or what size detention system. But we plan for that to be all under the parking lot.
Do you think we'd have any impact on this construction to the gentleman that owns the property adjacent to ours, who also lives across the street?
John, who is that? Could you be a little more specific? Is it?
DeVore has the
I
meadow.
don't know.
The
I don't know his
that-
name. Bill Dixon may know his name.
Oh, is it that Susan DeVore property, the meadow?
The one that's all beautified adjacent to our strip of land.
Mhm. There shouldn't be any impact. We're not going to be running any water. We'll be gathering our water in our gutters and our downspouts and directing that to storm drainage into some type of detention system. So I really don't see any impact to that property.
I was just considering beautification of the back portions of the townhomes in order to satisfy their apparent need for beautification across their way. I would just emphasize that that back portion of proposed townhomes be beautified in exceptional manner.
Understand? Yep, that, we will take that in consideration. I think we do recognize what a beautiful landscaped area that is, and that, in a sense, is a little bit of a benefit to us, because these units will be looking out over that. And when we were laying these out, and the architects can talk about this, but we did want to take advantage of that and have those units look out over that, because it's just so attractive.
I have another question. When my family purchased those properties, which I believe was in the year 2005, it was our understanding the zoning was mixed use. And I understood that as being either retail or residential. Has there been a change somewhere that I'm not aware of?
No, John, the zoning is still central business. You had mixed uses on the property when you had the stone pillar and snips, but those are gone. So it's vacant property, and central business is the underlying zoning.
So when we tore the buildings down, it changed the zoning as well?
No, zoning's not changed. It's still central business.
I think
It's
what
no
Kevin's,
longer mixed use because the uses are gone. It's vacant. But that was the previous use. You had, in fact, it's really two pieces of property. Stone pillar was on one piece, because this is two pins, and the snips was another. But the underlying zoning was central business then, and it's still the same. I'll clarify the point I made about the density. If you want to know the number, it's 27 units per acre. Now that sounds like a big number, but what they're asking is for 8 units. But if you do the math, based on the size of the property at 0.29 acres with 8 units, the density ratio is 27 units per acre. So you know.
When we purchased that property back in 2005, the parking requirements were rather strict. It was my understanding over the last generation that these parking requirements have become more lax due to the building of the parking structure. Is that true, or are we still very strict about the parking requirements?
It did not change for residential. It changed for retail, it changed for restaurant, it changed for furniture, those kind of things. We did loosen that restriction, but for residential, it's still the same.
Okay.
If there's any other questions, if y'all can unmute yourself, I think you can, and we'll be glad to take whoever has a question. And most folks that are on are either planning board or council. And then John Hannah, so that's who we got on tonight. But there are some that are on YouTube if they've tuned in, so if there's any questions that can be shared with the community at large, now would be the time to do that. Pete Guarini, our chair, is in the audience tonight. Yes, sir.
Mike, do you have square footage for the apartments outlined yet?
we do, and I'll let Bill speak to that. Bill or Lee can tell you the exact square footage for each unit.
Yes, the two end units are 2 stories, and they are 1,275 square feet each. The middle 6 units are like 2.5 stories, and they're almost 1,700 square feet each.
And I've got that up there for
You can see the numbers on the screen.
you. Yeah, anything you have on plans, I'll have it up here if you want. We'll move it to it. Yes, sir, Albert?
You're using the term town home, and then a reference was made to apartments. Which is this? A town home, I'm a appraiser, to me, is something that an individual owns plus the land under. Is that what they're gonna be?
That is correct.
Are we for sale, is that,
Yes, they will be townhomes,
so they are not apartments?
correct. And you are correct in that you will buy the property under it and the walls
Right,
versus a condo and apartment.
right.
So there will be 8 individual deeds, I guess, plus the association itself.
Thank you.
So there'd be a homeowners association and dues.
I think Steve Hetherington would have to answer that. I'm not sure how that works when they're individual townhomes.
Seems like there'd have to be to maintain the parking in
The common
the
areas.
common areas, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, Mike. It would be for the common areas, a HOA.
And probably associated dues, and to answer John's question.
I had Doug Matheson asked a question about the buffers. You explained what we've got required there. Really, this, I wouldn't call it front and back. The sides would be Laurel Lane.
Mike, you're going to enter from Pine Street and exit to Laurel.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan. And Kevin had mentioned there's a question about the buffers. The buffers do meet the minimum requirement for the zone. I believe it's both 4 feet on the on the east and west side. And then on the, I can't read, but the buffers on either end, I believe the setback is 15 feet, and that will all be landscaped.
Yeah, except for the area where the drive comes through and the trash area immediately adjacent to the entrance drive, but everything else will be landscaped. And what's shown on that plan right there is what's on their property. There's another 20 feet or so before you get to the sidewalk on Laurel Lane. So that's shown here in this area. That's the town's property. So there'll be
Yeah,
a pretty
from-
good buffer on that side. The other side is minimum 15 feet from the back of the sidewalk.
Yeah, from
Is there a natural gas line on the property? And there are other gas fireplaces in each unit?
They're proposing 2 propane tanks, one on each side of the building to feed these, but there is no natural gas. Propane is the only option up here. Bill, anything on that?
I don't know if we finalized the decision. I believe there will be some gas fireplaces in them, propane rather. That's really yet to be determined, but that's our hope.
Yes, Pete?
Mike, you mentioned relocating fire hydrant down a little bit lower. Does that satisfy the fire department's need to service that area in there? Is it just one fire hydrant, or would you need another one on the other side?
They haven't officially commented yet. I do know the plans were sent to them and asked to be reviewed, but we haven't received comments from them. The town engineer, McGill, has commented, and that was one of the things they brought up
Okay.
was fire protection. Is there adequate fire protection? So we'll wait to hear from the fire department. You may have seen, I was just talking to Ken Graham. I caught him out in the hallway and brought him in, and he did mention that more than likely he'd like to have a fire hydrant brought down there.
We've got we're showing one here. You see the cursor. I hope everybody can see this. Sometimes I don't know what is working. But there's a hydrant here, but I don't think it has capacity on it. There's one over on the edge of the parking lot behind Rumpel. And then there's a new one that's been placed out on corner of Main Street with the Main and Pine project. And it's showing here. So,
Right. So the only
You're talking-
logical place is to come down Pine because there's no water line in Laurel. so it would have to come down Pine. And unfortunately, the Pine Street water main is only a 4-inch, so that would need to be upgraded to a 6-inch, because you can't have a hydrant on a 4-inch line, so we'd have to extend that 6-inch line down.
Okay, thank you.
But we just put new water in there, Kevin. Before we pay.
We put in a new sewer line. I don't know about,
Okay, sewer, that's where the sewer is.
Yes,
Is
sir.
the sewer deep enough there for you to get gravity flow, I hope?
It will be, yes.
there's a lot of things in Pine Street. There's the
There's a force main coming
force
up.
main
Yeah.
coming up from Mayview, and then there's 2 water lines. It's busy, and you're familiar with that situation.
And it's a new street.
Not fully paved, again, yet. We've still got some areas that need to be.
Yeah, they found, unfortunately, they found another water main that no one knew about when they were bringing that sewer line up.
I can't believe it.
Any other questions from the community? Let me see if I can get this back up.
What's the next step?
Planning board. I'm sending notice out, hopefully Monday. Planning board on the 15th, April 15th.
Are we gonna have a Zoom meeting sort of thing for those?
It will be very similar. We will allow some people to come in. First come, first serve, or first let me know who can actually come. But we'll still have to do this hybrid system for a while. Yes.
I'm a hybrid.
Yeah, what we're doing now. A little rough around the edges, but we convey the information hopefully.
Well, it looks to me like a nice project, and it seems to me that there's a significant need for something like this, not only for the requirements of having more people to ability to stay in the town or close proximity to the town, especially those people that are handicapped or can't go driving places and in bad weather, etc. I mean, this just seems like a great way to beautify that strip of land. I have to admit that we spent years trying to do something with those 2 properties, how the establishments that we had. We couldn't find anybody that wanted to rent them or whatever. It was a depressing situation. So I think anything that would beautify the town, allow more density within the town, and allow people to come and go in the town, increase the tax structure for one thing, for the town, I think that's a plus.
Seems like it's a good transition too, because you've got the business right on Main Street and the mixed use with the residential above it, and then this will be townhomes, and then it transitions into single family. So it seems like a natural, kind of fits right in a natural transitional zone. Walking distance to all the shops. I think it will be a good addition as well.
Short-term.
How long do you think a project of this magnitude will take to, if it's passed and construct, how long will construction seemingly take place? Would it disrupt the area for over a year?
No, it would be under 12 months. The project on the front, we technically started late November, and we had phase 1 done in August and phase 2 done in October. So we had some pretty substantial delays throughout the winter. So hopefully, if timing was right, I would hope that this would be done in 9 months, but I would like to say more closely within 12 months to give that buffer.
Key is get a contractor that's ready to work when you are in this environment, but that'd be good.
this construction ought to be a little bit easier than the construction of the last building there, because it's all the same type of construction, so it's not mixed, so I think it'll go quicker.
Anybody else have some questions? Bill, Mike, Pete, Paige, Doug, you got another one?
Outside the watershed, so you don't have to worry about the density of them.
It's outside the watershed, but the density rule still applies. Our code does still apply in that situation. But there's not, it doesn't have the watershed, the impervious surface calculations for the watershed. But the residential density component is still applicable.
Kevin, it's Mike Page.
And Mike,
Comparable townhouses within central business, what would be the density that we already have?
well, the project that Steve just finished, Main and Pine, I think it was about somewhere between 18 and 20 units per acre. But he also had the retail component that was added in. So those are, being it's mixed use, you have a residential component of about 18 units per acre, 17 or 18. Village Green has a pretty high density, just up the hill on Main Street. Those are the ones that come to mind.
It might be good before the planning board meeting to have a good idea of comparable properties and densities in case that question comes up.
Okay. I have a list of similar.
Ken,
Go ahead, Doug.
I said the Gables also.
Yeah. I have to look at Gables. How many units do you think that there is?
There's 8 units in there.
8?
8.
Okay. That's not a very big piece of property. Yeah, it would be very similar. I'd say it might be, it's probably a little bit bigger, but I'll check that out. That'd be a good reference.
Define location,
Corner of Johns River Road and Main Street on the right beside the Methodist Church.
okay, yeah.
And Royal Oaks is pretty high density. It's 54 units in there. I mean, they've got bigger properties, it's probably at least 3 acres, but 54 units. That's similar, 18 units of an acre.
Well, one of the things that would be a consideration is the comprehensive plan that seems to encourage more housing in the downtown area.
Right.
It certainly seems logical to have more people being right downtown where they don't have to get in cars and drive around. They can go out to eat, do their shopping, just everything, go over to the park. Just makes sense.
I think there was a question about short-term rental either came in here or did someone have a question about that?
It's allowed.
Yes, sir. Central business it is.
When you say short-term, you mean nothing less than like 3 months or 6 months? Certainly not on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, day to day. Weekend, week, whatever. It's allowed. Whether or not they choose to do that, it is a permitted use. Anything else? You guys have anything else you want to share?
I'm good. Steve, that's.
Steve, anything else you want to share?
Well, first of all, I just want to apologize for not being up there today. Strange times, funny world that we're living in right now. But I appreciate everybody coming out on the call, and those of you did make it. Really excited about this project. Felt like the project on the corner was fun to do, was exciting. I felt like we had a lot of the town be part of that project. Hoping to really carry that along and serve the needs of Lone Rock. Was incredibly grateful to receive the Chamber of Commerce vote for Bench New Construction. Hopefully we can match that quality in this project and help bring people, more density into the town of Lone Rock so people enjoy this great town. So I really appreciate everybody coming out and the questions and great points that they had in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Mike, I would just hope before you come back to the board, an answer about the HOA, is it required, not required, is it going to be, is it not going to be?
We'll check on that. I can't imagine it not, though.
It's sort of a hanging chad to me.
Okay.
I just think to maintain the common areas, which, you know, 2/3 of the site is pretty much a common area except for your footprint, so.
I mean, I honestly have no idea.
Right.
We'll check on that and get you a solid answer on that, Albert.
Before we go away, there are some that did not receive or did not request to be on the Zoom, but if you are watching on YouTube, please contact me if you've got questions. Be glad to sit down and share the plans with you, or email them to you. Be glad to do that, and just want to get the information out. This neighborhood meeting notice went out 300 feet, is what we've done on conditional zoning. So it did encompass a broader range of properties, many downtown. But if anyone's listening or knows someone that needs to be involved, please have them contact me, and I'd be glad to get them information or sit down with them with a set of plans.
Would it be possible to get a copy of that image we're looking at right now, the proposed construction site?
I'll send you the whole package here in just a minute if you want me to, John. Is he still on there? Okay.
Steve has refused to allow me to see.
He might charge you for that. I'll get, once it gets to me, it's free, public.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, we're just excited about it. We think it's going to be a good addition to Blowing Rock, and a good complement to the last project we did. So we're ready to go.
Okay. Planning board next. Pete Guarini will take the helm at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're signing off. Thank y'all for being on here.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, that was the host. I'm going to close that.
Thrust into the position.